In this video, I'm gonna tell you on which side of the window inside an airplane you should book your seat if you're flying to or from London City Airport to get the best view of London. There are quite a lot of factors that make a decision process on what side of the airplane you should sit to maximize your photography opportunity quite difficult. But with regards to London City Airport, based on the research that I've done, you should sit on the right, either for taking off or landing at London City Airport. That will maximize your photography opportunities. And this is the time where I tell you to like and subscribe and comment. No. Actually, I can tell you a little bit more detail behind this process and why you should always sit on the right and book your seat on the right of an airplane to get the best photos. But also I will give you a few tips how to get these best photos. To kick things off, here's a 1-minute highlight video of departing London City Airport towards west while sitting on the right, followed by a 180-degree turn over Stratford towards Amsterdam. If you'd like to see a highlight video of landing at London City Airport coming from the west over the city of London, then keep watching or just jump to exactly 8 minutes into the video. Hi guys, my name is Michael Thomas. I'm a London-based time-lapse architecture and travel photographer, and as we are in lockdown, I decided to create this video series about different London airports because I absolutely love being on the right side of the plane and taking photos of London from altitudes that you cannot take even flying a drone, because it would be completely illegal, because where the planes fly is way beyond the maximum altitudes you can fly. Not to mention that you just cannot fly in central London any kind of a drone, even the ones under 250 grams, because it's all no-fly zone restricted areas. So taking photos or video from an airplane when you're landing at the right airport is probably the coolest aerial photography one can get in London. And depending on the lenses and the cameras that you're using for either day or nighttime photography, you can get some gems, or even sometimes you can shoot with just your phone and it will be good enough if the weather conditions are right. But here I've got a couple of tips for you, what to plan, how to plan it, to get the best out of your landing or takeoff. To start things off and make things a little bit more visual, I created a map where I can explain you a couple of things. Here's my beautiful map of London. London City Airport, that's the east, Greenwich Park, Canary Wharf, O2, Elephant and Castle area, London City, Shard, Tower Bridge, beautiful. Oh yeah, Stratford here as well. This map will help me sort of explain to you why you should sit on certain sides, which is what the whole video is about. So to first understand from which side of the airport the airplane's going to be either landing or taking off, you have to understand the basic that predominantly planes will take off against the wind. And in London, 70 to 80% of winds are coming from the west and are blowing sort of this way. As well as there's one other factor. The London City Airport, as it's so close to central London compared to any other airports like Heathrow, Gatwick, Stansted, Luton and so on, it's quite close to the city, and they try to avoid this traffic of airplanes flying around the city, because right above the river in the city there's also the heli route, there's air ambulances flying and all sorts of filming activities, police helicopters. So they try to always land from this side, take off and just fly away from the city. Not to mention that when you're flying over the city, you just create more pollution in the city. So there's loads of other factors that come into play. Why London City Airport preferred direction is flying towards the west, taking off towards the west, and landing from the east to the west. I don't really have a plane. I've got a TIE fighter, but it's not really the best example of showing an airplane. So I built this Lego 3-piece plane. Amazing, isn't it? I can't believe that I searched through all my son's room and I couldn't find any tiny airplane. This will serve as an airplane. Anyway, let's first discuss taking off from London City Airport. I was privileged enough that the wind was blowing in the correct direction, which is the usual direction from the west. And when I was taking off from London City Airport, I was taking off towards the west and I was sitting on the right. So by sitting on the right, by the time the plane took off, it started banking straight away to turn around all around Stratford and then straighten up and towards Amsterdam. If I sat on the left, after takeoff, the plane starts banking, I would see the sky because the plane was doing this 180-degree turn. Not much to see there. What if the plane was flying to east because the wind direction would be the abnormal easterly direction? Well, you're taking off from here, and to be honest, you're sitting either on the left or the right. You don't see much because past here, it's east of London, industrial areas past here. You might see backwards a little bit of Stratford, but not much. So if you're flying towards Europe anywhere and going towards the east, right or left really doesn't make a difference. Hence, the best seat to take off from London City Airport is the right side of the airplane, because just in case the wind is normal and it's 70% gonna be from the west, you're gonna see all of Stratford, and then by the time the plane turns, looking backwards, you can see a little bit of Canary Wharf, Greenwich, O2 area, but you have to be on the right. So taking off from London City Airport, definitely sit on the right. What about arriving at London City Airport? Well, I was privileged enough that twice when I was arriving from the Netherlands, once from Rotterdam and once from Amsterdam, the wind was actually the opposite direction that it normally blows, from the west. So what the planes had to do is arrive at London City Airport from the west towards the east, which is the abnormal. That's the 30% chance that you have for the wind to be blowing from the east. So what the plane had to do was arriving south of London, and when I was sitting on the right, I could see starting from the O2, Greenwich, and then it circles all the way around Elephant and Castle while already banking to the right because it's turning right, and then it really goes right close to the Shard. You can't really see much below, you can a little bit see the Tower Bridge, and then it's still banking to straighten up before it flies right next to Canary Wharf, where it lowers the altitude and you see Canary Wharf right next to you, and then lands at London City Airport.
Here's the promised highlight video from this landing, and it's a mix of two flights. On the flight that I was predominantly shooting video, it was definitely much hazier than on the second flight that I had from Amsterdam, and it was slightly better, still not perfect conditions, but on the second flight I was only taking photos. So in this highlights video, I decided to mix the two. Enjoy!
What would happen if you sat on the left? Well, flying from here, you might see down there a little bit of Croydon, then it starts banking, so you see sky, and then it flies right next to the City of London. Again, it still banks to the right, so turns right. The left person sees sky again, and only by the time you actually leave the City of London, it straightens up, so you might see a little bit of the city looking backwards, but it'll be late. So by then, when you're next to Canary Wharf, you will probably see a little bit of Stratford and your landing. So it's not the most impressive. Hence, for either taking off or landing in City Airport, just choosing to sit on the right gives you the best photography opportunities. So now that you know which side of the airplane you should sit, here's a couple of more tips how to make sure that you will take the best photos you can. Starting with, always try to book your seat in front of the wings, because if you sit on the wing, it'll block most of your view. If you sit behind, it'll block some of your view, and the heat coming from the engines going back will probably blur out your photos. So sit as much as you can in front of the wings to have a clear view in front of the wings. That's definitely best. Secondly, what kind of lens to use? Well, if you just got an iPhone, you can shoot whatever you want, you know, the wide angle, medium, or the 2x, which is like a 50mm. On the iPhone, it's 52mm. It will look okay, but as iPhones have a small sensor, the glass, the Plex or whatever the airplane windows are made from usually have a lots of spots and things and scratches, so you might see that on your footage from a phone. So if you're just shooting on your phone, hold it as close as possible to the window. But if you're shooting with a camera, you can avoid all that by shooting the wide aperture that your lens has and putting the lens as close to the window. The wide aperture will basically make any dots and spots on the window disappear. What about the focal length? Well, anything from wide angle, I reckon, to about 100mm will be fine. I once took a 200mm and it was just all soft, and I found the sweet spot being from like 14mm to 70, 100 can be pushing it. At 100mm, things on the sides and corners of the photo were starting to blur. Just the quality of the windows in an airplane isn't for photography, really. It was not its main purpose. Hence, because it's all curved a little bit as well, and you're shooting for like these two layers of window, because it's not a single window, it's like a double glazed window. I don't know if that's the professional name of it. That kind of destroys your image a lot. But if you're shooting less than 100mm, up to 100mm from whatever wide you want, you'll be fine. Next up is you don't want any reflections in your shot, so what I shoot with is a lens skirt that you just stick, which I can't do, to the glass, because it's not glass, and then you put your camera through it, and this way it avoids all the reflections. It's a brilliant piece of kit. It's not the cheapest, but I just couldn't live without it. So often I end up shooting somewhere behind a window or any kind of glass, or like at airplanes behind the double glazed plexi or whatever it's called. These are absolutely essential. What you could do if you do not have one of these, get a black t-shirt or a black jumper and just wrap around your lens, cover all the possible reflections. This will block the reflections bouncing off the windows, the double glazing, and you will achieve a similar effect to a lens skirt. However, lens skirt is just way more convenient. I've bought them about 10 years ago, and it's been the one photography piece of kit that I didn't have to upgrade, because they just do the job and they will probably serve me many, many more years. So yeah, it's an absolutely amazing piece of kit. This is not sponsored or affiliate, but yeah, I can't live without lens skirts. And that's it. So if you're arriving or departing at London City Airport, sit on the right, sit in front of the wing and have a lens skirt. And hopefully this video helped you to improve the possible photos you can get from landing or taking off, because some of the images one can get, these aerials cannot be reproduced by any kind of drones. I really hope you liked this video, because the next video I'm planning after this is about landing or departing from Heathrow. However, I have never
taken off or landed at Heathrow. So what I've done is I've asked you guys who support me in here and on Instagram to show me the best kind of videos or photos you have when taking off or landing at Heathrow, and you guys smashed it. You sent me loads of absolutely amazing videos that will be part of the next video in this series, which is all about what side of the airplane you should sit when coming to land or taking off from one of the London airports. I hope you enjoyed this video and the tips that I was able to share with you. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I really hope that you didn't click off at the start of the video when I just said sit on the right, because I was able to offer you some more value after that tip, how to take these amazing photos from an airplane. And I think, guys, that will be it. I will see you in the next video, which will be now, as you know, about Heathrow, and the rest of the series about the other airports. And I really hope that these will help you plan where to sit on your plane when you're coming or taking off from London next time, because right at the moment, yeah, I've got absolutely no trips planned because we're in lockdown. But yeah, now I'm diverging. Let's finish it up. See you later, guys.